Hi, welcome to another PlayBASIC live video. Today's video we're going to do something a bit different. We'll look at creating a library, which is really just a collection of functions. In this case, the library will be to hopefully at least read an XML file and grab some properties from it. We'll see how we go. So I've got the main document here. I've already done a bit of work for us. Set up a new project, and I've set up a secondary source. If you don't know how to do that, after you go to make a new project, this would create a new blank project. You can go to project control here, go to manage, and then to add a new source file to your project, you hit the new button, just type in the name and start, and it comes up as the part of your project appear, and then you start typing away in it. So I've already done that for us anyway. I've copied a bit of the structure across from the standard templates I tend to use, given it a little bit of a description about what this thing is meant to do. At the moment, it doesn't do anything. Got some constants for a version number, some stuff here that manages the PlayBASIC debugger and trace modes, and you might have noticed that before, but what this is actually doing is if someone compiled this example in debug mode or trace mode, we don't really want the tracer running all the way through the functions that might be in it. We kind of want the debugger to call the function, do what's in the library, and then come back, and the person can check their own code. Otherwise, you're kind of tracing through code you didn't write, which is pretty ugly. Now here we have a constant storing the explicit mode state. Now I tend to turn it off when I write my own libraries, but you can turn it on if you like, doesn't matter. Right, so what I've written so far is a function that will load a text file into a string. I've given this a prefix of ZXML. These will be our private XML functions. We'll have some functions that are considered to be public and some that are not. So we'll go ahead and we'll make our initial function. So I'll have XML load. Now I haven't really thought about how I'm going to do this at all. So right now, this is our sort of template. That's as far as we've got. We might give it a bit of a tag up here so when we're sort of scrolling through, it's easier to pick up where things are. Just an old habit. Often I would put a description here about what this function does. What does this function do? So you'll actually have a description here of what it does. So when you come back to your code later on, you might have forgotten what all this stuff is doing. Let's get rid of that for the time being. Okay. So to load our document, I've already set up this function here, which will grab a XML file or just any text file and load it into a string. It assumes the file is at least 8 characters long. If it's smaller than 8 characters, then it's not worth loading to begin with. We open up the file, we check the handle is valid. If it is, we read the whole thing into a string, close the file, and we return the resulting string. If it wasn't valid, then we need to do something here in the future to say, well, there's some error that occurred. You might actually have, I tend to use in my libraries, I tend to just have like print, and then I'll have my XML library. I might actually have the function name XML library error, and we'll say put this file not found or something. That would give us a description to the console in the debugger when the file isn't found. Here we've got a situation that might happen when the file is too small. We're just assuming that any file that's less than 8 bytes is probably not a very valid XML file to begin with. I'm not going to try and... I don't know the specification for these files, by the way. I don't have a clue. I'm not that concerned about it. We just want to get a very basic phrase running through. So here we will load the document, and we'll call this document, and we'll make that a local to make sure, just in case we have any other instances of document. If we check the length of this string after it's come back, we can at least know that something was loaded. So we'll have a text there, load XML file to string. Check if the return string is or has something in it. We don't know if it's actually an XML file. I haven't got a clue at this point, actually, to be perfectly honest. What we might do is we might put a print in here. I'll print this out to here. We've loaded our document into a string. We're doing a crude check to see if it's at least got one character in it. We're bringing it out to the console. Let's try and compile it. And it did compile and run successfully. At the moment the program actually doesn't do anything. It doesn't call these functions, so nothing. We should be expecting nothing to happen. As for loading an XML file, well, I don't actually have any files here. And I want to just put a sync and wait key. But I know that the project format that PB uses is actually XML. The IDE uses. So we try and run that. We get a wait key. I'll run it in debug mode. If the thing loaded, look at that. So XML file not found. That's good. That's what we want to know. Of course, we didn't put PB on the end of it. PB project. That's what PBP stands for, by the way. PlayBASIC project. Let's run it again. We should get a dump of that to the console. And there it is. Actually have this crazy stuff in the console here. Very simple project. We probably should do at least a query for that string there up front to give us some sort of idea if this thing actually has XML data in it. But at the moment, well, I won't bother. We'll just skim through it, we'll look for open brackets and any closing brackets and the properties in it. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. As I said, I've never taken much notice of this format. Now here, we probably should have a to-do check for XML tags in document. So we at least have some sort of acknowledgement that this actually is a XML document that we're looking at. We could do the phrasing inside the load function, but we might actually have a separate function to do the phrasing. So I'll just grab that as a template. What the thing does, well, I don't know at this point. I guess we could sort of look through the document. We have we'll loop through from the first character to the length of document, and we're going to look at each character and then decide what to do after that. I don't know. So if we just put the call in there for the moment. Right, so in theory this thing here would actually build up some kind of structure like an array, but at the moment we'll just skim through the file and so see what we can get to understand quickly. We'll try and run the thing again, make sure there's no syntax errors, and it is running, so it's okay. Let's have a look at the debugger output again. Okay, so we've got an open bracket. The next character is an alphanumeric. Then we do have a tag. If it's okay, it looks like it's probably, I don't know what characters are allowed to be in here, so we'll just say it's alphanumeric. So we'll say it may not be allowed that these things here can be, like you might be allowed to have PB project 1. Oh, you are actually. There's one standard below there. So that's an accepted format. Okay, so we'll skim through until we see an open bracket. Then look at the next character to make sure, or to try and decide on what to do with it. Let's do it. So, okay, if this character equals the ASCII value of that, then we have found section, I guess we'll call it. What I might do is I might grab this document size here. We'll go document size -1. So I'll force those to be local to make sure there's no chance of a collision with some global in the future. Document size. Now I wanted these as variables for one reason really, is let's say that we're scanning through, we found one of these characters here, but we're at the last character and I want to step forward and read the next character. There's a possible error there, isn't there? So what I would do is I would check if loop +1 is less than or equal to the document size. If it's not, to do error. We're reading outside of the string. That's the assumption anyway. I don't really know if that's going to be true or not. But now, what I could do is I could use in strings here, but we'll just skim through the characters and see how we're going. Right, so when we find one of these characters, we want to check if the loop +1 is. What I tend to do here is I might go loop 2, So I'm going to reuse that computed value again. So next character equals mid of document L2. That's the character following this one. Who knows what this can be? If it's an alphanumeric character, if next character, sorry, we have to make a comparison. If next character, we'll have some range tests. I'll put it in a function, so test legal section name, I guess. Section name character. This character will have some end sub result. So I'm doing this for convenience. What I'll probably do it in a final is maybe use a table and just look at the table. So set up the table initially and then just read from the table forever. Okay, so if this character is equal to, we'll have the lowercase a. I've got a feeling that the keyboard mapping is set incorrectly on this computer. That's why it's so irritating to use. Just make it a function. Yeah. We could do that, or we could just do a range test. Oh, caps lock's on. So I could do this character, and we're checking if it's within the two ranges, the upper and lower. If it is, then we just exit function, return a true. So if it ever gets to the bottom here, it's only ever going to return false. We need another version of that to do uppercase. Pretty horrible so far, isn't it? Alright, we'll go from so it should allow just alphanumeric characters in that position. That's pretty ugly solution, but it will probably do for what we need. So back up here, once we've found an opening bracket, we're checking the next character to see if it's alphanumeric. If it is, then that's a section name. Check if next character is alphanumeric. If so, this is section name. So here, if that returns true, if it doesn't, then it could be something else. This is something else. Who knows what at this time? There's something else. Alright, once we find that, once we've found the first open bracket, next name, I'm just going to use instring. So from our little look before, I'm going to save that, run this again in debug. So the console here, if you can see here, after a bracket, we've got the name and then there's a space at the end of that. Now I'm hoping that's actually pretty universal. I'm hoping that no one ever uses a tab in there or something like that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. I could just, if they don't, I could just use inString to do that task for us. So I could search in document from loop 2 position +1 for the space character. So if space position comes back and it's bigger than loop 2, then it's a legal find. If it's not, then it's something's gone wrong. Yeah. Couldn't find space. Yeah, it'll actually search the whole document, so the space itself could be anywhere. There's a bit of a problem there. If the document's malformed, like if you've got I'll make a little comment there. If you've got a line in your XML that says, you know, bracket, you know, section or whatever, you know, section name, space, that has a space after it, that might actually be the wrong thing. So we probably shouldn't do that. We probably should actually have skim through and look for the end of this bracket up front. And we'll just check that actually. Oh. What have I done there? Oh, sorry. They're back to front. There's a bit of a problem I can see about potentially just writing a phrase or writing a load that will just load these files when real world ones it won't like. So down here that would fail. If we're searching, if we find here, get to here, it won't find the end of watches because there's no space after it. It'll just find some space after this point. So as an assumption, not a very good one. Yeah, I think what we should do is we should actually skim forward and look for the name itself, and then what a terrible chore. Get rid of that, actually. Since we're in a for next loop, we might actually have a character search loop. Just have a local there. So in here, what we might do is we might do a call it find character loop, and this loops from loop 2 to the document size. So we have we've got a simplified version of this loop. Oh, no, we'll do that. This character equals mid document find find character loop. So grab the character from this position. It might actually be, from what I can tell, it might be the end of the tag itself. So if it's this, then we would check the character after that. Oh, sorry, I've got an ASCII comparison with a string. We don't want that. So we check if it's the end of the tag, and if it is, probably the character after that is going to be the very last character. So if I'll just use a bit of a shortcut here to get us through this part here. There is a potential for an error here, the same error as we're having before. If we don't check that the next character is actually within legal range, we might get some strange behaviors loading certain files. So we'll check the next character, add one. Are we within the file still? If we are, then we can do that. If not, then something else can happen there. Yeah, pretty ugly looking solution, isn't it? I told you I hadn't even crossed my mind. I hadn't thought about this at all. Right, so we find this character here. We are pretty good. Sorry, we don't need to do that. We need to grab this. Yep. +1. Okay, so if we find one of these, then we are at the end of the tag. We double check. Check for end of tag. Check for closing bracket. Yeah, so here we've found the closing bracket. Else not, there might be some sort of error. Now, we found the tag here. We probably want to continue this loop or break out of the loop. End loop here, because we've found something, a stop character basically. I hope these rules are kind of making sense, because at the moment they're not kind of making much sense to me. We'll see how it goes anyway. This is a stop character. Found stop. Found stop character. So let's just say here we have section name. I don't like doing this, but this kind of thing here, but this character at the end here will just print out the section name. Oops. We want to exit this loop. So when we find a stop character here, we have found the section name here. We also want to adjust the outer loop to skip over this. Which is the loop counter. So I think skipping over it's going to be to this current character here. So loop becomes here, exit that, and we adjust the outer loop counter, exit this inner loop. Now there's a few different ways this can fail, but for the time being, I mean really it's just a thrown together solution anyway, so we'll see what we get. Better save something just in case something goes wrong. Okay, so if this is a legal character, we add it to our section name. Now I'm assuming that you can have most alphanumeric characters in section names. If it's not, then we might want to say, there's an error. Error in section name. Well, sorry, that should be something more like XML loader. Or a legal character will say, oh god, legal character in section name. At this point, the little errors are just for us to sort of work out, is the thing working, what is it actually doing. I don't know if this works or not. I doubt that it does. Skip down through here. When we find the closing bracket, we want to do the same thing. We want to set this up here. I found a closing bracket. We probably need to have some sort of notification as to whether, when we find a tag that actually has a close on the end of it, to make sure we don't search for anything for its closing tag. If that makes any sense. Let's just run it. Let's see what we get. Find character loop. Expecting n equals an expression. Oh, sorry. We want to exit for. Didn't find any section names. We'll see what our debug is outputting. Console. Not much really, is it? So let's have a bit of a look. See. I'm going to here. We'll see what we're actually getting. So we're going through the document, as far as I can tell. Yep. Now, are we finding this first character or not? So if we found one of these, then open bracket. I wouldn't normally do this, but okay, so we're finding open brackets, which is good. Now, just check that's within a legal size. If our comparison is working properly, which it does seem to be. So I think, oh sorry, there's a mistake. Next character is not the one we should be looking at. Oh, this character. Wow. Somehow or other we've actually got our section names from the file with some pretty crappy logic. Yeah, we do need to know more about these things. Save that again, run it in debug mode so we can see them side by side. So our project, we have what tags we have. We've got PB project. Of course, it's got properties or attributes that it doesn't have in here. We haven't looked at those yet, or we haven't added any code to phrase them out yet, so it has no idea what those things are. But it's found PB project. I think it's just kind of by pure luck that's kind of working. Next one it's found. This found includes correctly. It doesn't understand what's after it. Same with the include 1 it's found. Include 0 it's found. It hasn't found the end include tag because it has no real knowledge of it doesn't know what to do when there's this character here after the opening bracket, I guess you call, or the less than symbol. So that one there is not handled. So if we add some logic to do that, we should be able to get it to. Okay, so library highlighters is done, executable is there, version info, screen, author, dates, watches, breakpoints, trace, and the last one's not there because it doesn't know the same situation. It's a closing bracket, doesn't know what that is. Cool. Let's try and so if we find an open bracket and the next character is one of these, just trying to think if there's some reason why we shouldn't actually add this to the section ending. We could probably just do that, really, couldn't we? I might be just being overly protective there and for no real reason. So here we're checking if the character after the opening tag is not one of our legal section name characters, then avoid doing this stuff here, phrasing it out. So when it gets to here, this might be a closing tag. I don't really know. I'm hoping this is our standard. So it's going to be an example format, you know. May have a tag called end of section or something like that. So if that next character happens to be that, oops. Yeah, so check if next character is oh sorry, divide, isn't it? Divide character. Next CHR equals ASCII / yo. Right, if this thing has, so we have these two characters here in that structure, and we have they're within the document anyway, so that's legal. And we could do, you know, check the character after that to make sure this thing is actually a valid comparison. I'm hoping it's not possible, there's no other way. Let's call that next character, just to be really irritating. Right, if this picks up the character after this as being alphanumeric, we just assume it's a section end. If it's a section end, I think we can just use an end string for that. So closing, it's not really a bracket, is it? Well, I'll call it bracket just because. End string document, and we are looking for this character, and we're looking for from loop 2 plus 1. Actually, it's going to be plus 2, isn't it? Search for close. Search for the end of this tag. So if closing bracket what do we got? So closing bracket is, it has to be bigger than loop. I'll adjust that, actually, it's kind of bothering me. How cryptic is that? No, look, I better not do that. So what we're saying here is, if we do find this character after these, we're just assuming this tag is not mangle. You know, we probably should do a bit of secondary checking to see if there's no weird stuff inside the tag, but I don't know. We'll find out. If closing bracket is kind of okay, then the section name is going to be mid. What characters are we looking at? Document. I think it was loop 2, wasn't it? Oh, we want to grab from loop 2. I'll just add one to that to move it to the next character along, so they're all sort of we want to grab from, loop 2, closing bracket minus loop 2. We might be using a character there. See how we go. Now, got a bit of a bracket there. Get rid of that junk. We've got PB project at the end. That's what we wanted, but we wanted this to be sorry, I'm just going to mangle in the code for my own amusement. We're missing that character there. Do we really need that or not? I don't really know. We probably should have it there. Closing bracket here should be plus 1. Minusing that should give us the right name. Yeah, includes. So we do actually get our bracket there. When we get to here, we've got to adjust our outer loop counter so it skips over this. That's why we're doing that, by the way, if you're not quite sure. Closing bracket equals there. I can actually call continue there just to get the loop ticking over. Set outer loop counter to the end of this tag. That's why we're doing that. Are we doing that for both of those or just that one? We might only be doing it for when we find a space, we exit here. Okay. So it looks like we've got sort of something that's kind of skimming through and working. We might leave it at that for now. And I hope you have found it sort of interesting. I hope you get some ideas, and we'll catch you some other time. I'll make some more in the series as well. I'll think about it a bit more, and we'll get this thing to work, rather than just the junk here. So bye.